This is Rebati Sante Mantal, and we are bringing you another amazing topic for this month, which we find to be extremely important. Again, my name is Dr. Natasha Janel Janak, and I am the president of Rebati Sante Mantal. And today I have with me Kathia, who is the founder of Live, Love, Life Mindfulness, and we have the president of the president of the Haitian Association, the Haitian Law Association, Michelle Deborah Saint-Vil, and they are here to help us with the current climate going on in our society today. We find that it was very important that we bring this topic together because there is a lot of scare tactic that's going on right now. And these ladies today are going to bring it together for you to kind of help alleviate some of that anxiety of the fear around immigration, and they have a plethora of information to share with you today. So if you are on here live already watching, please share this information. Grab all your friends, peut-être tous amis ou toute famille, parce que vous va aller là, docteur WhatsApp, avocat WhatsApp, nous avons information là pour aujourd'hui, pour qu'on ait information qui est très important, information qui vraiment, ok, information nous pouvons partager avec aujourd'hui, c'est information où qu'a aider en monde, en famille, en amis. So, c'est très important, pas juste qu'il y ait information ça peut-être ou à chercher amis ou à chercher famille pour gain information ça même genre. And to bring it all together, we have the Dr. Guerda Nicolas, who will be moderating this session for us today. So without further ado, let's get this going. Dr. Nicolas, it's all yours.
Merci un peu, Louis. Honnête tout le monde, bonsoir, bonsoir. Salut tout le monde qui est là. Nous connaissons toujours faire programme ça dans deux langues. So don't be surprised if you hear some Creole and some English as well, because we always make sure that we are doing the program in two languages as well. We say hello to everybody who's joining us on Facebook Live as well. And thank you to our amazing speakers for giving us the opportunity to really get a chance to connect with them and for them to share their perspective with all of us on a topic that's really, really important as well. So as Dr. Janak says, Guerda Nicolas, professor, co-founder of Rebati Sante Mantal, we're really excited to be joined with the AIDS Haitian Foundation, also Health Foundation, who's also joining us in this on this webinar series as well. Currently is a professor at University of Miami, doing a lot of work both in Haiti as well as here in the States. So really, really excited to see all of you. I'm going to just give my colleagues an opportunity to share who they are with you first before we delve into this conversation a little bit more. I'm going to close this up and ask the amazing Deborah joining us, president of Haitian Lawyers Association, who have been so busy these last couple of weeks, for her to introduce herself so you know a little bit about who she is. Deb?
Bonsoir tout le monde. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Guerda, Rebati Sante Mantal, pour inviter nous pour nous venir là soir, pour nous parler un petit peu de ça qui a passé et comment nous ca aider tête nous, pas vrai? So my name is Deborah Saint-Vil, as already mentioned. I am an immigration attorney. I practice in a nonprofit organization to help the individual that's not able to pay for a private attorney. I am also the president of the Haitian Lawyers Association, and I am extremely happy to be with you this evening.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Deb. And we are also joined by an amazing colleague who's doing amazing work all the way in New York as well, who's joining us. Kathia, so good to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm just gonna ask you to unmute. Sorry, 1 second. Yes, no, yeah. There you are.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Guerda, for introducing me. It is such an honor to be here today with everyone. So I will introduce myself in both languages. Again, my name is Kathia Duverné-Douyon. I am the founder, as you all mentioned earlier, of Live, Love, Laugh Mindfulness, which is a telehealth practice supporting mental wellness in the state of New York, and I also support other states. By trade, I am a dual board certified family and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. So I'm happy to be here. I'm vraiment content la soya pour ka really shed light pour aider communauté parce que nous là un moment qui est vraiment critique et puis c'est vraiment important pour nous toutes mettre ensemble pour nous éduquer peuple là, pour yo connaître que yo pas seul et nous là pour nous supporter yo. So from my standpoint, you know, I'm here to support, you know, as it relates to mental health, how we can keep sane, right? How can we keep our normalcy? How can we you know, do our best to continue day to day as we deal with this major inconvenience. So I'm happy to be amongst all of you and I'm looking forward to the segment.
Awesome, très bien. Merci un peu, oui. Donc, n'a demandé de moun qui là avec nous sur Zoom là, c'est comme si nous dans même caille là. Nous connaissons qui gagne des moun qui sur Facebook et nous gagne des moun qui là avec nous dans Zoom là. Utilisez chat là s'il te plaît. Fais-nous connaître qui côté ou yé et qui nous yé qui côté ou a branché kounya pour nous cap connecter une à l'autre là. Donc, really, I would ask all of you who are here, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are as well, who's in the chat. But also, if you are joining us on Facebook, drop a line. You can also put your comments, your questions, introduce yourself also on the Facebook Live as well, so that we will know, you know, so we'll get to know each other as well. As we said, tonight's conversation is a combination of bringing together the Haitian Lawyers Association with Rebati Sante Mantal, with mental health, right? Our mental health team, because I always said lawyers cannot live without mental health, the mental health providers, like we work hand in hand together. And so we're super excited to have the opportunity to connect in this way. So the conversation tonight is about not only about getting the facts and knowing what's happening in the community right now regarding immigration, regarding immigrants' rights, and so on, but it's also about understanding the effects of all of that on us, right? What, you know, on our mind, on our body, and that is for all ages, right? From the young kids all the way to the, older folks as well. So it really is important that we sort of mirror both of those. So with that, I'm gonna ask Deb to really just share a bit as our lawyer expert here, who's been so busy, some of the lay of the land in terms of some of the things that you are hearing and that you are seeing overall in the last couple of weeks, and that is really happening, not only just in the Haitian community, pas seulement dans la communauté panouan, mais ça a passé en général dans le pays à ce moment-là, dans l'aspect immigrant. Donc, Deb.
All right, thank you, Dr. Guerda. So before I start, m'a divisé bagay yo en trois pour nous comprendre un petit peu, pas vrai? So the first thing I will talk about are the executive order. The executive orders are order that is passed by the president. And we're going to talk a little bit about the immigration policy. Those are decisions that is made by the Department of Homeland Security. And then we can talk a little bit about we can talk a little bit about the new law that's in the state of Florida, just in general. And I know that a lot of individuals connaissent gen moun ki pa sorti en Floride, but moi kwa entias que un peu nan yo ap relevant avec nous aswea. M'pa prendre long pour me parler de tout bagay ça, m'a prend un petit peu de temps, mais si nous gen question, I guess na pose yo dépend. So let's start with the executive order. So premier bagay ki passe, c'est que administration, ou nouveau président mette quelques nouveaux lois pour de programmes qui te gagnent. Li retire un peu programme et li fait plus he expanded what we call the expedited removal. So qui ça qui expedited removal? Expedited removal c'est when CBP officer gain droit pour yo bon en ordre de déportation sur place. So pour qui ça important? Li affecté tout moun qui vini en bas programme CHNV, Humanitarian Parole, que nous-mêmes Haïtiens, nous remercions the Biden program. So it's for Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan. So with this expedited removal order that have been expanded. So pour qu'à comprendre, c'est pour qu'on ait qui s'altérer. En avant, si un officier immigration, ou dans pays, et ou rentre moins que 14 jours, et ou à peu près 200 mètres de côté rentré, ça veut dire au bordeur des États-Unis, pas vrai? So, si vous êtes rentré sous de l'eau, ou bien si vous êtes marché sorti en Mexique, si vous êtes 200 mètres de là, ou bien dans 14 jours, que vous êtes rentré, vous avez droit, si vous voulez, vous avez un ordre de déportation sous place. Ça veut dire que vous n'avez pas besoin de mettre dans le processus de déportation pour te défendre tout, pour vous connaître ou bien juge décider si pour le retourner à Haïti ou bien dans le pays ou bien pour arrêter les États-Unis. Mais vous expand loi ça. Ça veut dire vous élargit loi ça. Nous, administration dit que 14 juin, vous pas là-dedans encore. Yo ba officier jusqu'à 2 ans. So, si vous avez moins que 2 ans dans le pays, n'importe côté rejoint nous dans le pays, so bagay 200 mètres là que vous avez gagné avant, il pas existé encore. So, n'importe côté rejoint nous dans le pays, même si vous rejoint nous New York, même si vous rejoint nous dans New Mexico, Californie, n'importe côté rejoint depuis ou là, moins que 2 ans, vous avez droit à un expedited removal. Et mon CHNV l'a affecté plus, c'est que si vous êtes venu, ou vous avez une parole dans mais ou et parole là te pour 1 an ou bien 2 ans n'importe temps te ou bien moun qui rentre en bas CBP1 yo te pour 1 an pour 2 ans 5 ans. Officier sa gen droit révoquer li. So that officer can actually take it away from you and decide that it's no longer valid. So you're no longer allowed to stay in the United States. So that's very important to know because at any time, an officer will decide if or not you're allowed to stay if you have been in the United States less than 2 years. Now, if you have been in the United States more than 2 years and you encounter ICE, then they would have to place you in removal proceeding. So you doit mettre ou dans processus de déportation côté ou même ou gen chance pour aller défendre tout pour demander on demande pour qui raison pour yo quitter ou dans pays ici États-Unis. So ça c'est premier bagage qui changeait qui affecté un pile monde parce que dans le sens même si que papier au bas on te bordeaux pour te rester dans pays pour un certain temps qu'on y a papier pas m'pa vle dit pas valide, but yo ka retire n'importe l'air nan men ou à n'importe temps. So ça c'est premier bagay qui rive. Deuxième bagay, un pile monde qui inquiétude pour lui, c'est que yo parlé de Jean yo ka retire citoyenneté américaine nan men ou. But nan moment ça nous dit moun font ti calmer de ça parce que this one is currently in lawsuit. Ça veut dire que yo pas d'accord, il y a un groupe avocat qui pas d'accord, yo font lawsuit pour dire que loi ça pas bon et qu'on y a since it's a lawsuit, would not worry too much about it, right? So those regarding the executive order that we think that people are worried about. As far as the immigration policy, le 20 février, they said they modified TPS. They modified TPS for Haiti. I want to make it clear. You're pas terminate TPS. TPS is still exists, you know, so a lot of individuals think there's no more TPS. No, it's not true. It have been modified. Ça veut dire que la loi dit, les États-Unis ba on pays TPS, li gen doit bali de 6 mois jusqu'à 18 mois. So, li dépend de qui ça qui a passé dans le pays, hein, et pour yo wè, pour yo wè combien de temps pour yo buy TPS là. Hein? So, yo gen doit faire ça. Yo gen doit dire, OK, li te bal pour 18 mois, nous pas quoi que yo besoin pour tout 18 mois, on nous fait en 12 mois. Mais, qui ça problème dans moment ça? Yo gen 2 raisons que yo ka ba en pays TPS. Un, c'est que natural disaster, right? So, for example, Haiti had it in 2010 and 2011 because of natural disasters. And 2 is political rift or political turmoil that is going on in the country. So this is why Haiti got it in 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. So 2021, 2023, 2024, I apologize. Ça nous dit, au lieu que les expirer le 3 février 2026, qu'on y a dit que la expirer 3 août 2025. So, il réduit à 6 mois. Mais la loi dit 60 jours avant que TPS termine, administration doit dire nous, est-ce que y a renouvelé ou bien il pas renouvelé? Comme raison yote bay TPS pour Haïti en un moment ça still a privé et même bagarre la ka privé malheureusement pays Jean lié kounya nous souhaitons que administration use good faith pour yo renouveler TPS nous pas connaître si après renouveler nous souhaitons que yo use good faith pour évaluer Haïti pour yo renouveler TPS mais c'est pour me la vérité tout en même temps que pour Venezuela, yo retiré par Venezuela, yon parti n'a pas Venezuela net, pas vrai, because Venezuela te gagne jusqu'à avril, et yo dit que yo pas renouvelé li en commencement mois de février. So nous pas vraiment connaît qui bon que yo a passé avec par Haïti. Pour Venezuela, they started a lawsuit for them at this moment. So en cas que yo pas renouvelé Haïti, maybe something will happen similar. So, et dernier bagage que nous voyons qui a passé, que tout le monde attendait, c'est que nous voyons, there was a news article that came out that said that anyone that enter under the CHNV, under any type of humanitarian parole in general. Ça veut dire que cité the Ukrainian and Afghan humanitarian parole, the CHNV humanitarian parole, the Venezuela humanitarian parole, and the HFRP humanitarian parole. Tout ça, c'est différents humanitarian parole que administration by Président Biden a mis. Yo dit tout le monde ça que dans l'article que yo pouvez faire une pause pour toute application que y a fait. Nous voulons, et puis ça te fait un pile moun peur, un pile moun peur. Nous disons yo, dans moment ça, pas gen aucun policier ou bien mémo qui sorti dans USCIS qui dit que y a fait ça. Maybe son bagay interne, but même si c'est un bagay interne, still continuer faire application que ou éligible pour lui. Si c'est pour application résidence ou éligible pour lui, fait. Si c'est application pour TPS ou éligible pour lui, fait. Si c'est pour application asile ou éligible pour lui, fait. Même si nous tendez ça article dit en pile parole dans TikTok, en pile parole dans WhatsApp, en pile parole dans Facebook, am dit que bagay yo a posé, yo pas ajuster application nous encore bagay ça pas occuper tout le monde ka faut payer dans moment ça nous dit ou si ou éligible pour application fais-le. Et si ou gen problème ou pas comprendre ça qui a passé, ça nous veut dire joindre un avocat pour faire une consultation. So if you have any worry about your immigration status at this point, right now, our advice is to look for an immigration attorney to go over your case and to see what is the best avenue that you can take at this moment. So I don't know if you want me to continue, Dr. Guerda. There's so much I can talk about, but
Non, c'est bien. C'est merci un peu. Donc, je pense que for the people who are just coming on, I see a number of people are coming on the Facebook page and also coming on as well. I think you talk a little bit about this sort of change that's happening in terms of the parole, right? The parole status for many people. These are abiding folks that we're talking about. Some changes in terms of the expedited, right, process as well. You talk about the citizenship that people may have heard a lot also on the news, you know, that you're saying, come, you know, nous can take our blood right now vis-a-vis that, right, of that, because that is in the court right now, and then the TPS situation, the change in the date that has occurred and so forth. So I would imagine, so that's a lot of different things that are happening, affecting various different groups of people in the community as well. So I said, different qualité bagay qui affecté différents types de monde dans la communauté. Donc, on a voulu venir avec Kathia, peut-être Kathia parler un peu de ça a un impact quand même dans ni l'esprit ni dans le corps. Donc, m'a demandé, Kathia, s'il te plaît, s'il te plaît, parler un peu de, what de ça nous fait tendre là, what are the impact, right, the mental health, the stress impact that we could.
Of course, of course. Immigration, can have profound stress, right? In our mental being. So, généralement, tout stress ça yo ka créer anxiety, li ka porter dépression, et puis li ka porter post-traumatic stress disorder. Pas vrai? Just, the culture. There's so many things. Il y a un pile bagay que n'a géré qui a fait tout problème santé mentale ça yo présenté. Par exemple, nous avons un language barrier, pas vrai? Nous tendez qu'on paquet de paroles, mais vraiment, si c'est pas la communauté que vous venez puis vous tendez paroles, yo capable de comprendre ça qui a passé. Cultural dislocation, moun n'a parlant culture, parlant ben, right? This is not his environment, so they don't even know where to go, right? Where do I go? This is happening. Where, who do I contact, right? Loss of social status. Again, this person can be a highly, they're highly educated individual. Yo certain pays yo avec gros degré, yo professionnel. Le pays yo ka gérer tête yo, mais yo vini ici, they're handicapped. So all of this causes anxiety, it causes depression, it gives them a sense of isolation and hopelessness. Parce que pas aider tête yo pas côté yo ye. So il y a un pile situation ça amène un pile symptômes, il mène un pile émotion qui affecté definitely santé mentale communauté. Mais problème que nous toujours nous gagnons que n'a as mental health professionals que n'a aider communauté c'est que pour yo connaître qui le pour yo chercher support. Right? Parce que nous n'avons pas avec stigma. There's a cultural stigma, right? That we just don't seek mental help, right? Parce que c'est just n'importe gens lié à faut nous just avancer plus devant. So we just have to continuously aider communauté à jeune après jodi, right? With resources, faire yo connaître que yo pas pour compte yo. So definitely this immigration situation, anything, any immigration related situation where we have immigrants, right, who are dealing with adjustment disorder, li printemps peut ajuster pour toute raison que m'expliquer, so tout ça présenté comme problème qui a turn into anxiety, depression, and also, post-traumatic stress. Absolutely.
Absolutely, merci. Oui. So a lot of different things. I think it's really is important for people who are watching to know that while these things seems to just be like legal things, they have a huge impact on somebody's mind. They're having huge impacts on people's bodies. So we are seeing, right, the sleep problems, people not eating well, they can't keep food down, the gas issues. I'm seeing more people something, gas qui parle aller net là, avec toute inquiétude ça, la caillou, gen des moun qui mange en pile, gen des moun qui pas manger en pile. Right? Gen des moun qui dormi en pile, gen des moun qui pas dormir.
Right, exactement. So, ça c'est, these are psychosomatic symptoms. So, ça c'est symptômes qui présentaient le que en situation pas bien gérée. Donc, comme on dit, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress, tout ça, tout symptômes qui a présenté, c'est again, pas dormir, panic attack, anxiety, gen moun qui gen ventre fait mal, tête fait mal, pas vrai, tout symptômes ça yo présenté, c'est un genre pour nous que quand nous réagit avec mental stress que nous gagnons. So, c'est vraiment important pour nous tendre quoi nous, pour nous ouais parfois le nous ouais un changement la caille nous la caille famille nous si changement comme just like you said, Dr. Guerda, if you know this person is a big eater, suddenly wouldn't have manger du tout. So this is something you have to stop and, and invest and investigate further. This person is someone who's a talker. Suddenly this person is like have lost for words. They're not speaking. They're not, this is something you want to really take a deeper dive to see what's going on. So a lot of times these telltale signs are what we use to support our family, our loved ones. So that's a good point you brought.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as Nancy is mentioning in the chat also, right? Because you just went through this process, and Deb knows, right? We went through this process of like, okay, will people get their papers to get their Biden papers, right? And so on. And then they finally get the Biden's paper, and then this happened, right? And sort of like this sort of like up and down, right? That kind of like almost like roller coaster that you find yourself in, where it looks like things may be okay, and then things are not okay, right? Over again. And that also, it's like, I was talking to somebody, I was like, it's like when we're working with somebody who's diabetic and their sugar level goes up and down, the impact that it can have on the body, it's the same thing when you have to deal with that kind of, readjustment
roller coaster
again. It has a really huge impact on oneself as well. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Deb, I want to come back to you to hear a little bit around some of the things that people should know. Right. So as you were saying, somebody can pick you up now. They don't have to give, they don't have to have the same parameters of where they can pick you up. If you are in this Biden, the parole program and so forth, now it can be anywhere. So I'm hoping, m'a souhaité que ou pal ba nou ba la cash pour moun konnen ki doit yo, right? What should they know? What are their rights? What should they do? What are some basic tips people should know? Parce que m'te tendon moun di que kounya yo pa ouvert porte yo pour aucun moun, yo under kay yo, et nous déjà gon pourcentage de ti moun ki pa pa l'école kounya. The attendance rate in school has reduced dramatically. We know for sure that there are people who are not going for their cancer treatment, who are not going for their dialysis treatment because of the fear of leaving home and being picked up. So, s'il te plaît, sou te ka ba nou ba la cash pou nou ka konnen ki sa moun suppose konnen doit yo à ce moment-là.
You know, some of the important things people should know. Walk around, marcher avec document qui prouve statut immigration. C'est important, ok? Parce que non, nous pas jamais vraiment enforcer ça. Et m'a dit ça, c'est pas seulement monde qui gagne TPS, monde qui vient en bas programme CHNV, Humanitarian Pole, m'a parlé même monde qui gagne résidence. Parce que si un peu monde pas connaît ça, monde qui gagne résidence, ou supposé marcher avec 4 résidences sous chaque consorti la caillou. It's actually a misdemeanor if you do not walk with your resident card. So, now imagine, si moun again.
Yes. Oh, Deb, what? C'est comme driver's license too?
Yes, it's like your driver license when you drive in. You should be walking around with your resident card. And I know a lot of us don't do it because the share super gili, c'est pas comme your driver license that's like $60. It's expensive. It's almost $500, right? So we understand why you don't do it, but you should be walking around with it. In addition, people who have TPS, you should be walking around with your approval notice. And a lot of the individuals, en pile nan nou pense c'est 4 travail là qui TPS là, c'est pas 4 travail là. 4 travail là nul en général. Li bon en pile parce que les d'autres travail, mais pas travail là pas dit qui statut que ou gagne. C'est pas lui qui dit son statut qu'on gagne, OK? C'est papier vert que ou te recevoir qui dit que ou gagne approuvé TPS de tel à tel. En pile nan nou gen papier qui dit que ou te approuvé de tel jusqu'à 3 février. Li pas jusqu'à 3 février encore, li à 3 août l'an 2025 là. So, ou marcher avec li, nou pas du ou marcher avec the original one, you need to make copies. Make many copies. Mettez dans poche, mettez dans bousse, mettez dans valise, mettez dans machine, carry that on with you. And then also, if you have been here more than 2 years, documents to prove that you have been here for more than 2 years. Parce que ou pas vle pour si une situation t'arrive ou, si ou t'arrive kembe ou, c'est laissa qu'on y a pour chercher relais tel et tel, a dit alors qu'on ba cabane nan pour t'apprendre papier pour moi descendre là dans tiroir à droite à gauche. Have a copy with you. So if anything happen, we don't want anything to happen, but nous voulons qu'on prudent, so on va arriver ou gen papier ça nan men ou. Si ou appliquer pour asile, marcher avec reçu asile nan, parce que ça a protégé ou parce que yo pas qu'à juste bon ordre de déportation sous place avec reçu que ou t'es appliqué pour asile nan, parce que ça veut dire que ou getan di yo que ou peut retourner dans pays ou c'est pour on moun t'attendre raison, so marcher avec reçu asile nan men ou. En plus, si un officier ta kembe ou dit que Ou vle parler avec avocat. You have the right to remain silent. Ou pas besoin de dire rien. Just dis que vous voulez parler à avocat. Et moi, me dit, même si vous pas un avocat dans le moment ça, vous voulez parler avec avocat. Et après ça, famille ou, amis ou, al hire avocat pour vous. Pas besoin al dire un peu de bagage. Pour que ça m'a dit nous ça, parce que nous connaissons peuple nous. Les peuples nous, les yo dit peuple nous qui coule le ciel là, yo dit qui coule le ciel là, qui coule les nuages là, qui coule les avions qui passent, et you don't want to give too much information, and we trying to avoid you from doing that. Because whatever you say could be used against you. So just say that you elect to remain silent and you want to talk to an attorney. If it's at your home, ask for the warrant. The warrant should not be any type of warrant. It's supposed to be some warrant fédéral. Ça veut dire que ce papier a sorti son papier fédéral lié. So plusieurs tribunaux kabay on warrant, but ou doit make sure que les gen mot fédéral dans la donné. Pas vrai, if I was doing a PowerPoint, I would have showed you what it looks like. But pour ka wè si papier bien, make sure li papier. Ça veut dire si devant la ka ou mande li pour yo rentre li en bas porte là, mande yo pour mettre sous vide porte là, pour ka wè li, ou mo ka même di yo dicté li ça li pour ka connaît si moun y a cherché en dans la date yo signé li, c'est pas un bagage qui était fait 2 ans de ça, 6 ans de ça. So bagage ça, c'est bagage pour aider aux propres précautions. Et Guerda prend pour question à qui est-ce qu'on machine dans la rue, pas vrai? So, c'est pas à tout le monde qui a machine dans la rue dans le moment ça. Parce que c'est pas tout le monde qui est dans la même situation avec vous. Et m'a dit ça parce que nous pouvons rentrer sous lui parce que nous, the Weekend Rally Act, and the Florida laws, kounya qui ka fait bagay yo vin pi difficile pour nan moment ça. So, essayer garder précaution avec qui est environnement ou et qui est soit sorti dehors, qui est soit fêté avec, qui est soit monter machine avec yo, que ça yo ka mettre dans plus problème.
Bon, et au fait d'un bagay là, I think you just drop a lot of wonderful tips, and I hope that for those of you who are English speaking as well, because we know you guys are bilingual, are also hearing some of those things as well, which is really, really important because you do have rights. There are some things that people can do. And I think sometimes when these things are happening where you feel like you don't have any control, it increases your anxiety, right? And depression even more. So, I love the idea that if there is a warrant, it's supposed to be a federal one. It's supposed to have a clear label on it. So that way, you know what it is. Making sure that you walk around with your ID. If you are a resident, that you need to make sure that you're working around with your residence card, which is really is important as well. And then if you can talk a little bit more about the rally law, because not only I see Wilma's asking about it here, but I saw somebody asking about it on Facebook as well. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So the Lincoln Riley law. So, earlier I mentioned there was executive order, there were policies, and there were actual laws. So Lincoln Riley law is an actual law from Congress. So that one, okay, so si un immigrant fait un crime, pas vrai? Usually, auparavant, yo accuse yo charge et ou passe tribunal, et si yo convicte ou, then, dépend de crime nan, immigration vini, immigration prend, then nous parlons prison immigration, et pour parler processus de déportation pour si crime ou fait a fait perdre statut. So quickly in English, so prior, if you have been accused, arrested, and being charged, and being guilty of a crime, following that, then you go to the immigration process regarding that. So at this moment, the Lincoln Riley law says that all that have to be done for you to be a mandatory detention is to be accused, meaning accusation. Accusation seulement à mettre en prison mandatory. So, qui ça crée vol, okay, meaning burglary, vol nan meb, which is burglary, vol, theft, larceny, vol nan magasin, so shoplifting, like vole ti bagay nan store. Attaque son officier police, ça veut dire que assault and a law officer, all right? Et ou bien n'importe crime qui cause la mort ou bien blessure grave sur moun, meaning any crime that cause death or I guess bodily injury on somebody, right?
Yeah.
So those are the crimes. If you have been accused of them, it is mandatory detention. So, ou pa men bezwen, yo pa men bezwen akize, yo pa men bezwen charge ou de crime ça. You don't have to be charged of that crime, and you don't have to be you don't have to be found guilty. Ça veut dire yo pa men bezwen jwen nou coupable de crime ça, parce que it is now required for it to be mandatory detention. Why this is important and why I keep emphasizing this, every time I read this and talk about this, all I think about is our young men or young kids who literally walk someone after school, play around with their regular American friends who don't think much about those things. Now imagine you going to a store and being accused go volley on bagay, and you did it. And do you know how many times or on get accused of things that's not even true? And you have to go through the whole process for them to realize that it's not true, right? But now you don't even have the chance to go through that whole process before you have to be in mandatory detention. So every time I read this, every time I think about it, every time I talk about it, I just think about our young kids. Parce que parents nous parents men dit ti moun yo ki yo pa statut yo pa normal, pas vrai? And petit moun, they were not born here, but they came young. They have no accent. They think they're American. A lot of them do, because they come to me at an age and they realize later on at 18 that they're not even American. So it is important for you to actually sit down pour parler à ti moun. M'konne sa m'a dit nou ka ba nou petit peu anxiety, pas vrai? Mais c'est pour comprendre que bagay la pa, c'est pour comprendre la vérité et qui ça le ka fait. Imaginez que si mon yo a conduit et plusieurs fois, mon yo a conduit, yo fait accident tire moun, pas vrai? These are mandatory detention, even something that could be found as as an accident. So mandatory detention. And then pour ajouter loi Florida la donne, now that says that if you do any capital crime, it is the death penalty. It's just a lot. So I just wanna, I guess this is like the perfect segment to talk about it and to see maybe how can you deal with the mental aspect of it. And it's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is like a perfect time because there's a lot of stuff, and I know we n'a pas juste un bon bagay. It's a pile sous pile lié. But there are amazing things that we can do right now, right? Both kids and families can do to help them manage and cope all of these things that Debbie's letting us know about tonight, right? So there's some things that as you are in the Zoom, as you are watching live on Facebook, there's some things you can be doing to really help you cope with the stress that you are managing right now. So Kathia, some great strategies would be helpful.
Yeah, of course. So, first of all is mindfulness, right? You just, mindfulness is a very good practice, practicing some really good deep breathing exercises, right? To really connect yourself, right, with your insight. So I think that that's really important, and that's like the easiest and most practical way to deal to cope in the immediate moment. Like, fait pour nouvelle, immédiatement pour nouvelle ça, on va faire passer ce qui sont fait. Ou camper, pour 2-3 minutes, ou just connect with yourself, right? You take deep breaths. Right? These are like really true, not deep breath while you're on the phone, not deep breath while you're driving, really connecting with yourself and taking some really good deep breaths. So I think that's really the easiest way, for us to really cope. Secondly, social support, right? Really connecting with really good friends and family, like people who are positive, right? Please don't connect with friends and family who are only going to give you the right advice. Pas connecter à moun sa yo. Parce que y a fait symptômes là plus mal pour, ok? Faut chercher de moun, mettez moun la chemin, ou moun la vie, ou moun connecter avec moun ou connecter qui positif, moun qui ka servi comme ressource pour, qui connaît qui gagne information. Et comme ça, si yon pas gagne information, yon dit que y a cherché connaître pour, c'est pas moun qui fait parole. right? Because things like that add to your stress, it adds to your anxiety, and it basically derails from there. Important too, like, you know, culturally, connect with your culture. Parfois, ou tan de musique pays ou, pas vrai? Tant qu'on manger pays ou, storytelling. Sou gen 2-3 amis anciens, tant qu'on connecte avec eux, et pour parler de moments anciens yo, right? That's refueling to the soul. Li retiro le moment, et puis li mettons non, you know, at a space where things were good, where you were happy. So for that moment when you're connecting with these people, your storytelling, you feel good, and it also gives you that sense of being, right? Storytelling can also help you, right, to reconnect, because sometimes when you're feeling isolated, parce que vous n'avez perdu qui est souillé. Pas vrai le moment. So, le qu'on commence à ba histoire ça yo, li faut revivre, right? So it's like really food to the soul. So that's important. And lastly, professional guidance, right? Here is the attorney, Deborah here, you're here, Dr. Gerda, I'm here. Reach out, right? Reach out so we can give you good advice, right? Good consultation, so we can put you in the right track, not mettre nous dans bon chemin. So these are like the immediate coping strategies that I would recommend, you know, immediately, currently in the situation that we're in.
That's really great. I think these are really, really, really great tips, right? Bon tip pour qu'à vraiment bien penser. Parce que c'est vraiment important parce que quand on a une situation qui n'a pas de contrôle, là-dedans, right? So, on va chercher des moyens pour qu'elle joigne un contrôle de un bagage, right? Pas manger à son façon pour qu'elle ait contrôle. Because this lack of not feeling like you have any control, c'est ça qu'est sous biscuit là, ça nous really anxiété, mais en bon créole là, nous connaissons qu'est sous biscuit, c'est ça, you know, c'est ça qui mène ça. Right? But so you have to stay focused on the things you have control over. And that's what Kathia is saying. Stay focused on the things you do have control over. Your breathing, you do have control over. What you put in your body, you do have control over.
Absolutely.
Right? What you listening to, you do have control over. Who you connecting with, you do have control over, right? As well. All of those things are things that you can put in place, you know. Get a playlist. You know, everybody here should have a playlist. I know Deb has a playlist. Kathia has a playlist.
Absolutely.
I have a playlist. We all have a playlist based on the days and what we're dealing with,
Yeah.
right? But like you said, making sure that you cook the food that brings you joy, you know, and you know, it really is important. And let me just add something very basic. Getting up and taking a shower is important. That may seems to be something relatively small. I cannot tell you the number of times in the last couple of weeks I'm saying to somebody, just get up and take a shower, because it's a part of when you don't feel like taking a shower and you haven't taken a shower for the day, right? Then you don't have a chance to be connected to your body. You don't have a chance to be connected to your spirit, right? And so on. So as a result of that, so when you take a shower, and many of us know what happened when you finally take a shower. If you actually haven't showered, you take a shower, how refreshed you feel overall. That's what we're trying to, because it shifts the mind a little bit right around that. Something as basic as that. I tell everybody, get a plant. I prescribe plants as a part of what we do. I said, because the plant in your life, you have to take care of it. You have to give some water. You have to give it some sunlight. And if the plant is starting to die, it is a sign to you. C'est signe pas que en don, ou que des bagages que ou même ou pas prendre soin de lui en même temps. So basic things, like some things like that you can do that I think would be really, really helpful as well, that I found really helpful. And that I think some things that we're also suggesting to other people as well. So that I know we're gonna come to the questions. I know some of you in the chat have questions that you want to ask, and we want to get to them as well. But before we get to the next segment of what you were gonna talk about, I love this question in the chat because it says, si moun pral nan bal, est-ce que Ais ka entre nan bal la pou yo vin pran nan bal haïtien et Deb? Question?
Si moun alon bal?
Si moun alon bal haïtien, si moun alon bal, si moun nan Karimi, comme cette Karimi a kap vin la, est-ce que Ais ka vin pran nan sa?
You know what, this is actually, we're smiling, but there's been a lot of worries about people in the, you know, this type of event and stuff like that. Honestly, let me tell you something. So as far as school, I know the kids are protected.
Yeah.
As far as church, private, I know the place are protected. So really, when you are going to those events and you feel that there might be an issue, maybe you can talk to the event organizer to see key mechanism that is present in case something do occur, right? Because again, if it's a private event, if somebody have to pay to get in, they need a want to get in, right? So look, make sure you know the mechanism of what will happen if they do come in front of the door. Like, would the organizer say, hey, go ahead and enter, it's not my business? Or would the organizer actually take the time and say, is there a want for you to come in? Are you looking for a particular person? How do you know this person is here based on everybody that's there, you know? So what are the steps and the mechanism? So you pretty much chercher pour chercher connaît key mechanism, I'm using that word more. I know that's not the same word in English,
Okay.
but that would take in those type of events, I would say, because I have been given there is a lot of worry about those things. So even for like when we are doing those events, and we are doing them in person, us as the provider that give the information, do ask the individuals, hey, what will happen? What are the steps that you are willing to take in case someone do come in and try to come in?
I think that's such an important question, and you're right, it's because there's a lot of people who are worrying about that. And so it seems to me that for events that are happening, I know that HLA is having its big event coming up at the end of March here for the big galas coming up. There might need to be some kind of disclaimer to let people know that this place is protected in some way, so that people know, because it is a question that I think a lot of people are asking as well, which I think is really important. There's a question in the chat I also want to make sure that we answer to, which is somebody's asking, if you are in the TPS program and it's going to be expired by August, are there any steps that anybody should be taking right now? Est-ce que gagnent que si dans TPS que le expirer dans août, est-ce que gagnent que m'ka fait kounya?
Definitely, I'll tell you this. Premier ba pour le faire, si chercher un avocat pour ka ouais, est-ce que gon l'autre façon que ou ka ajuster statut ou pas vrai? Gan pile moun que yo te rentré, yo just fait TPS là, yo vinn éligible pour TPS là, yo fait TPS là. Bon ka di gen de moun nan moment ça yo tellement peur yo commencé vinn ouais avocat parce que gan pile moun qui fait application TPS, but yo pas avocat. L'on parler avec un avocat, même avocat regarder toute histoire ou pour être éligible pour un bagay. And m'ka di gen moun qui vini yo famille yo te get appliqué pour yo et puis visa après pour yo, so yo ka même appliqué pour visa. Gen plusieurs lot bagay ko ka éligible pour, et peut-être ou ka pas éligible pour quel lot bagay. Mais gen moun qui ka éligible pour ba soit parler avocat ka vraiment expliquer ou qui ça que ou ka fait dans moment ça pour ka essayer ajuster statut ou sous éligible pour TPS là. Et comme moi t'ai déjà dit nous, dans 60 jours avant date fini, administration supposé faire une décision si après renouveler, si ou pas renouveler. La dernière fois que yo te essayé retirer TPS pour haïtiens, nous te fait un lawsuit, ça c'est en 2017, et lawsuit là presque depuis 2018, lawsuit là te fait 5 ans la marché, et yo te bay renouvellement automatique pour tout le monde ça yo, parce que again raison que après raison que te bay TPS là existait toujours dans le moment ça je dis.
Je pense que il semblait que ça sont bon moment parce que soit parler de 60 jours, on parler de 2 mois, pas vrai?
Oui.
On parle de si c'est dans août lié, ça veut dire que à propos de mai au juin, juillet, août, c'est dans juin, mon est supposé commencer à jouer un avertissement qui dit que ça va venir faire, pas vrai? Donc le plus important que depuis Kounia, c'est ça me tente de dire, depuis Kounia, il est supposé commencer à engager, already starts with connecting with a lawyer right now, which will be really important, right?
That is correct, because a lot of people like to wait last minute, en dernière minute, c'est pas le 1er août pour chercher qu'on ait un avocat, ou bien parler à avocat. Ça ka passe, avocat yo a plein ba nan men yo, et yo, ou comment ça me dit là? So, it's pas en dernière minute, dans moment ça, faire ça à faire. Et puis, quand le bac, comme m'a dit, c'est pas seulement préparer ou bien chercher connaître ça qu'arriver dans le sens de immigration. Pas vrai? Parce que, là, on a parlé de immigration, tout le monde seulement pensé de statut. Mais immigration affecte un pile l'autre bagaille dans la vie où on y a nous que il affecté mentalement. Pas vrai? Pas seulement en immigrant, il affecte famille ou tout. Pas vrai? Il affecte monde qui bon côté ou, il affecte voisins ou. Pas vrai? So, il affecte plusieurs mondes. So, we tell people to get their house in order. What does that mean? Ça veut dire que nous pour gérer causer ou, pour essayer ouais tout. Grand pile monde qui gen TPS, nous gen TPS depuis 15 ans, la marché avec TPS. Et puis yo bâti on vit ici aux États-Unis, yo gen car, yo gen business, yo gen plein d'argent dans compte yo. So kounya nous dit yo, essayez à parler avec avocat femme guardianship family law. So gen ti moun, si ou gen ti moun qui l'école, et pendant ti moun dans l'école, et là ça ou vient encounter avec un âge ça qu'a passé à Timon ça qui est-ce qui pour aller chercher Timon ça la qui est Timon ça pour aller est-ce que ce système là qu'a prend Timon là ou bien ou getan mettre un plan si on bagage arrive qui côté pour Timon là aller si on bagage t'arriver ou tout qui est-ce qui a aller prendre l'argent dans banque pour aller payer un avocat pour vous qui est-ce qui connaît qui côté pour aller la caillou pour prendre quelques documents pour vous si on bagage arrive au côté dans détention qui est-ce qui connaît comment pour payer là ou bien si taxe dans là pour payer pour pas perdre pour après dire ou qu'on get investi là-dedans pour pas perdre business ou qu'on fait un pile investissement là-dedans. So we ask for that you go see other attorneys as well, real estate attorneys, the one that do power of attorneys for you to be able to allow other individuals to help you with those things in case something happens. So we don't want anything to happen, but we do want you to be ready in case something happens.
Absolutely. So, like, what an important point, right? To talk a little bit about the families. And I really wanted to bring Kathia back on this conversation because, and I love Nesma's point because it is a lot of, this is really sad, right? So, and I know that Voice is working with a lot of young people and a lot of those young people on TPS. And I think some of our young people who are in the Zoom now tonight also may be on TPS as well. So they're really managing a lot of different things. And I wondered if you can talk a little bit around specifically for young people, like what is it that we should be thinking about for the children in terms of, you know, in the youth and qu'est-ce yo ka fait kounia ou jeune parce que
I mean, généralement, c'est pas ça yo seulement qu'a fait, c'est que les parents yo qu'a supporté yo. Parce que ti yo même yo vulnérable et puis yo pas en charge, yo pas mettre tête yo. Mais premier bagage pour famille connaît c'est que open communication, pas vrai? Open communication, li vraiment important pour nous encourager ti moun yo exprimer tête yo. Pas vrai? Pour nous connaître qui ça yo senti. Et puis li important tout pour nous validate emotion yo. We have to validate their emotion. Let them know it's okay to be concerned. It's okay to be scared. Pas vrai? Tout ça c'est émotion et c'est humain oui. Faut li okay pour yo feel comme ça. Pas vrai? Et puis c'est comme ça pour nous ka supporter yo. So that's the first thing. Also cultural education. En pile fois ti moun yo wot tête yo parce que yo pa vek de moun connaît qui est yo ye. Right? So li important pour nous aider ti moun yo embrasser pas vrai their culture. It's important. That's so important for me, for my family, that my children know who they are because it's their root. Right? So let ti moun know their heritage, they know their culture. Et foster pride, yo vin fier de tête yo, et puis yo gen resilience, yo gen résistance. Là yo tande parole yo kon kote yo parents yo déjà ba yo sa yo besoin, puis yo ka camper ferme, puis yo camper jam. Right? Mais si n'a caché pour ti moun yo, nous wot de qui est nous ye, nous pas vle faire yo connait qui est yo ye, nous pas aider yo. Parce que là yo vont côté y a dénigré peuple là nous-mêmes ou y a parlé les avec yo pas camper ferme parce que yo pas connaît qui est côté yo sorti. So c'est vraiment important. Also créer stabilité avec routine pour yo parce que qui est-ce qui veut vivre l'uncertainty, right? So maintaining a daily routine will provide structure and a sense of normalcy, right? Pour ti moun nan pa vivre le chaos. Parce que ça crée plus anxiety for them, right? Mais si nous avons une routine, nous avons une structure, et chaque jour, yo kon qui ça a passé, premièrement, yo plus à l'aise, they have more, they feel better, and normally, and ultimately, si on bagay arrive, kounya yo di, ah, ça y est pas, kote maman, kote papa, yo la tel le, à 7 heures, mais ça nous fait, nous pas faire jeudi, a light bulb goes up. So that's very important. And lastly, limit exposures, right? Ti moun yo, yap grandi, yo pa bezon kon tout bagay. Yo, information que nous share avec yo, supposé age appropriate, right? So monitor sa yo tande, monitor sa yap gade exposure yo. You know, there's so much information, so much fluff all over the place. Yo poko based on age, yo poko prepare pour yo put things in perspective. So c'est job pa nou comme famille pour nous aider ti moun yo by limiting the exposure, by creating routine and stability, right? By teaching them cultural education, their heritage, who they are, and ultimately open communication.
Such great tips, such great tips. I'm hearing this, and I see that some of our folks are also chatting about that. There's a way that what's happening in the school today, you know, these days, because not only is this in the school system, the kids are hearing quite a bit as well, right? They're hearing from each other information, but also it seems like the other kids are using that also as a bullying technique, right? So now they're sort of like almost like threatening Deborah as the classmate, you know, if she does certain things, and they're saying, well, you know, you might get deported, you know, to, you know, and so forth, back home. And so I wondered what is happening in the school. What you think, you know, if you've heard anything, Kathia, or maybe Deb, on what the school system is doing to gérer, you know, contexte ça, environnement ça, qui est tellement difficile.
So, I guess my réponse m'a général, dans tout cas qui gagne situation qui gagne bullying là-dedans yo, il est vraiment important pour l'école là, créer une sorte de programme, if not a program, puis on mette tout social worker dehors, puis on mette tout professionnel psychologist dehors dans l'école là, so they can do different group activities. So that's essentially it's for bullying, essentially for anything at school, n'importe situation dans l'école qui a créé situation ça yo. Généralement l'école là yo créé, you know, they essentially create a program around the curriculum, right? Because there's an immediate need, right? Where they come in, they push in, right? Whether it's while they are in different classes, their homeroom, right? So they have a specialist come in to talk about these things. I mean, that's what I've known to have taken place, right? But as far as this specific situation, I have not heard or have to deal with any one-off. But ultimately, si l'école là où son problème lié, faut yo chercher toute santé mentale professionnelle qui dans l'école, parce que every school must have, right? For your psychologist, for your therapist, for your social worker, so they come together, right, to create a segment to help mitigate against the bullying.
Yeah.
Mais encore, Dr. Guerda, this is where, you know, of course, you can't control what others say, you can't control what they do, but when we, you know, this is where the cultural education, so see, you know, come at place, right? Giving them that core value, right? Giving them, you know, fostering a sense of pride and resilience, right? Because if you have pride and resilience, not that you're not going to be affected, but, you know, it will be different. Because you would understand, and sometimes you really, because you have enough knowledge, même si moun nan piti, mais s'il comprend bagay la, li won l'autre a parlé de li ka même prend temps pour éduquer l'autre la. Pour dire, hey, you're not saying it right. This is what's going on.
Absolutely.
Well, why don't you find out what's going on instead of judging it, right? Because they feel comfortable enough that they know. Mais là, yo pa konnen yo même, yo yo pa gen confiance dans tête yo, yo ka camper. They're not gonna have the moral courage. Right? You might get courage moral là, puis yo camper, puis yo dit non, ou pas, you're not speaking properly. This is what's happening. And maybe you should inform yourself. So this is where it goes back to us as parents, you know, who nous fait a good job at installing all of these coping skills, right? And you know, into our children, so when they are out there and they have to deal with these things, they can deal with it appropriately, because we can't control what others are saying or doing, but we can control our reaction towards it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know, I mean, this is also, I think, where the Haitian professionals comes in as well, because I know, you know, we know konnen que pas tout ti moun nou yo ki yo traité même jan. OK. Ouais, gen ça là dans li, et nous konnen gen gon system, par exemple, dans Floride là, Kathia, côté, we're in the 4th largest public school in the country, right? Qui pas même gen assez professeur là-dedans. Donc, ça veut dire que nous konnen que système nan gen propre problème par li. Je pense que c'est là tout et communauté professionnelle haïtienne qui a vraiment une base de support. Right? Parce qu'il y a une fois que professeur eux-mêmes, il n'y a pas de bagaille, il n'y a pas qu'à dire, il n'y a pas qu'à faire, mais c'est qui gens, il y a connecté avec DEB, par exemple, organisation comme HLA, qui a vraiment aidé à gérer des problèmes que peut-être élèves eux-mêmes, il y a besoin. Donc, je vraiment aimé parce que HLA does a lot of work there, so I would love for you to share a little bit around the work that HLA is doing as a resource in the community. Et parce que qu'on fatigué, ouais, j'en like souris belle pendant temps, madame ça travaille en pile là. What are you guys doing? HLA is doing.
So, you know, I'm glad you spoke a little bit about the school system and what's happening with the kids, because on Monday, we actually went out to some high school in Miami to talk to a lot of, you know, our kids that are undocumented. And I was able to talk to a couple of them, even if we were trying, some of them, you know, some of them actually have status, but because of the message that is going on, because you know, a lot of the message is just a scare tactic, right? So because of the message that's going on, a lot of them are afraid. So one thing we could be doing is changing the narrative. You know, it's more about what does the migrant community does for the community. And maybe that will help a lot of individuals, because I'm talking about kids that are resident that are scared to even go outside past school hours. And a lot of them the teachers are saying they stop coming to after school program, they start coming to tutoring, they stop doing after school activities. And you know, if they don't participate in those things, what happens? They end up doing other things that we don't want them to do, right? So we go to the school and talk to them and try to explain to the ones that do have a status that they do have a status and it's okay. And the one that don't, we try to connect them with attorneys that's able to do the case, if not pro bono, then with a low bono. In addition, right now we launched the legal orientation task force, and we have been going to a lot of churches. As you know, the Haitian community love, you know, listen to the pastors a lot. So we've been trying to educate them and literally do a legal orientation of one, what is the actual law? So like those misconceptions are cleared out. And two, what other avenue should they be thinking about or looking forward, looking into? So we discuss those with them and also provide them, you know, a connection with the office so we can connect them with attorney. So as the organization, what we can provide, definitely do provide, is free consultation with reputable attorneys. As you know, we have hundreds of Haitian American attorneys that understand and speak the language. So these attorneys provide the hours pro bono to offer free consultation to each and every one of them that do come and that need a consultation to understand what is going on. And in addition to that, we help with some minor cases. For example, people who need the TPS filled out, people who need citizenship filled out, or people who need fee waiver. So we're doing a lot of pro bono service for these individuals. And also we partner up, because we can't do it alone, we partner up with other organizations, such as Flick, to help them with the power of attorney, so we can get that going and help them understand the guardianship system and what they should be going to, and connect them with other nonprofits, you know, like the legal aid that help with those things. And if we can't do the case, if it's too much, immigration case can be very, very long, can take 7-8 years, then we connect them with nonprofit organizations such as CLS and AIJ to be able to take on those cases if they're not able to pay for a private attorney to represent them, because the nonprofit cannot represent everybody. So we definitely try to connect with reputable organization, reputable attorneys. But as far as us, legal orientation, matin, midi, soir, nous kon fait 4-5 non seul jour, nous et puis nous last week actually of our members went to Boston to do it in Boston, because they're calling us in different states to be able to do it, because they are hungry for this information. So that's the least we can do for the community at this moment.
Yeah, faut nous faire mon yo songe que nous tout gen full-time job.
Yes.
Let me remind everybody, c'est pas ça fait pas job là, ça c'est ça on fait dans
Volunteer.
c'est ça on fait dans weekend pour l'église. It's what you guys are doing as volunteers and so forth. But you know, to be able to provide the free pro bono consultation, I'm sure that's a huge relief, right? Mentally, to know that you can go to a Haitian lawyer that speaks Creole, qui ou ka parler avec yo de ka ou la, de situation pour la, et puis ou ka joindre des conseils nan men yo. HLA people, Haitian Lawyers Association. Please, if you're listening, go follow them, and then you can definitely reach out to them. Debbie's the president, so right, of the association as well. So definitely, I think that's amazing. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing in this community as well. But we know that Kathia is also to live love, mindfulness. I know there's the work that you are doing as well in the community to really provide services to folks. I know we here at Rebati are providing mental health services to individuals who are really managing this sort of stress related to immigration and any of this sort of legal stuff. We are providing that. I hope that everybody will reach out to Rebati as well to be able to get some of the services that we are offering. But I would love to hear to share some of the things that you are also are doing, some of the other resources that you also see in the community as well, Kathia.
Yeah, absolutely. So so ultimately we all know that community support gives a good sense of sense of normalcy, right? Parce que là où nous la communauté a nous parler langue nan, moun nan feel confortable pour li vin joindre nous. So ça seulement aider la gérer stress là ensemble, as well as the anxiety. Pas vrai, parce que le monde connaît les besoins support, les besoins ressources là, et puis c'est qu'on y a un barrier dans le langage là, un barrier dans la culture là, ça seulement vient porter on stress avec anxiety. So being in the community, to be able to say that, hey, come to me, I speak the language, m'ka aider ou m'komprendre, right? A lot of time I think ça seulement by moun no sense of relief, pour moun nan wè ke ou ka di lan lang ni ko comprendre sa ka passe ya. And I think, just like Deborah said, all the resources we provide in the community, like resources such as legal assistance, as you just so well said, mental health support. Also, our religious organizations. There's a statistic that says that our community, c'est après on fin parler avec père pasteur Mantal, c'est après ça vient côté nous. Parce que premier blessing là, c'est pasteur avec père. It's all the religious organizations that has to give them the blessing or the okay to to use the resources that that's out there. So basically this is it. So having, being able to offer the support, being able to speak the language, being able to say, oui, m'comprendre, I think this in itself relieve some of the anxiety that's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's such an important message that we want to send out to everybody tonight. We know that there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of worry. There's a lot of, to be scared, like there's a lot of fear that's happening here. But you also have a huge community of support that is here for you, right? Haitian Lawyers Association is here, right, to really provide the legal aspect. Kathia, all the Haitian Haitian mental health providers are here also to be able to provide services as well. So just want to make sure everybody knows that you don't have to do this on your own, that you have a community of support and love for you to reach out to these organizations to get the kind of support you need, okay? I know there's a question in the chat there regarding the contact number that people can use to find the pro bono representative, please, that, we're getting that on the Zoom, on Facebook. They said, how can they reach LA for any of that?
If they want to have a legal orientation or be connected with an attorney for a free consultation, all they have to do is text avocat to the number 561-861-6894. Again, 561-861-6894, or emailed immigration@hlafloridafoundation.org. immigration@hlafloridafoundation.org. And for all other inquiry, like all the other cases we talked about, it will be at info@haitianlawyersassociation.org. Or other cases aside from immigration that are affected by immigration will be at info@haitianlawyersassociation.org.
That's awesome. Deb, can I ask you to please, can you type it up in the chat for us, please?
Yes, let's do that.
But just so everybody can have them. I know you said it, and those who are watching us on Facebook will have the number. So because you said they have to text advocate, right, to 561, right, 861-854, right?
Yes. They don't have to text your whole story, just the word avocat, and legal secretary will literally call you back if you text that. Yes.
Okay, to that number, 561, there it is, 561-861-6894 is the number. Those of you who are on Facebook, so that's the pro bono consultation, or you can send an email to immigration@hlafloridafoundation.org. So immigration@hlafloridafoundation.org, and in any other things that you have questions about, you are sending it to info@haitianlawyersassociation.org, right, as well. So thank you so much. So I know that before we turn into like final thoughts and so forth, we're gonna open it up just to see if there's any other questions people have on the Zoom here, any other comments anybody wanted to have as well. So this is your time for an opportunity beyond the questions you ask in the chat to ask, to make any comments or provide any remark, because I know we have some other experts in the Zoom too, as well. So if there's any comments or questions or remarks.
Hi, I have a question. Or maybe I missed that information, if you guys had shared it. And again, thank you for organizing this, and making all this information available to us. By any chance, do you guys have a phone number or an email where, like, for example, if we're interested in getting mental health care for our parents who are a bit reluctant to doing that, is there like a number or an email where we could be in touch with someone who would be culturally appropriate for our parents?
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Janak, do you have that number handy? So we absolutely have, we'll put the email address for us as well. Dr. Janak, did you want to?
Oh, yes, we
Thank
do
you.
provide, yes, we provide that service through Rebati Sante Mantal. I will put the information in the chat as well so that you have access to it, okay?
Yes,
Thank you, Dr. Janet.
You're welcome.
great question. Any other comments, questions? Thank you. I see many of you making the comments in the chat, very informative. Thank you, Vanessa, for being here, and you as well. Thank you, Regine. Good to see you. Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Vazi.
I just want to say thank you. I think this was really important, a really important conversation to have. We've been talking about it quite a bit with the students that we support and we help. So I work for an organization that support youth that are transitioning from secondary to post-secondary education. And I know it's a big concern overall. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to kind of share this really important information. And we are going to be doing some follow-up. I'm excited to see so many of our students here and taking in this information. And I hope you all go back to the rest of the scholars and share the information with them. So thank you both.
It really is important. Thank you so much, Vazi, for pointing for the work you also are doing with our young people. We need to recognize that in the midst of all of this, our young people are significantly being impacted. And as Kathia was saying, this is usually in the community, we don't think young people, I'm talking all ages, right? We don't think that they are being as affected by all of this because we're like, they're young, right? And so on. But they are, and that's what Kathia was really highlighting. And what is it us as families, as parents, as aunties, as uncles, you know, as extended families, also all the things that we can do to create spaces for our young people to be able to share what is it that they're going through right now and validated it for them, you know, and normalizing, right, that they experience in their feelings and their thoughts at this particular moment. And so really, really glad, Vazi, that you were here also to be able to collect some of that information and really hopefully share it with even more students that you are working with to let them know that, you know, that it is normal that they're some of the things that they are feeling as well. I do want to say one point, because somebody says, I want to reiterate to everybody, because on the mental health side, like, alcohol is not is a depressant. Let me just be clear on that, right? So people are saying like I need to find a way to sort of like numb myself from all of this, right? So drinking may be like a mechanism that some people are using, just reminding yourself that it may seem like it's a stimulant because you drink and you get silly, right? In some ways, right? Which is it, but it is actually is a depressant, right, afterwards. So if you already are feeling sad and you're feeling you're not sleeping well and you know you're not eating well and you have a number of depressive symptoms and then you're drinking, it's actually going to make your depression even more chronic, right, than not. So it's actually not, you know, take a walk, then some compa, you know, around. Music is healing, praying is healing, right, as well. Meditating is healing. So there's so many other things that are disposable and not necessarily tapping into the vaping and to the smoking and the drinking as well. So I appreciate the question privately to me as well. So thanks for asking. Any other questions or comments anybody else have? Okay.
I have a question, and I'm speaking for some of my students that are on the chat. So we're working on this project, and we want to kind of share more of this information out to the community, right? We're on the campus of Miami-Dade College. There's a Haitian group called Haitian Igbo at Miami-Dade College, a really strong Haitian student organization group. We are doing a project with Rebati, Sante, Mentale. Claude, is he still here? And so if we wanted to kind of reach out to Haitian lawyers and other organization around mental well-being connected with really knowing your rights to kind of spread this information out to a larger group, how would we get in touch with you? Could we kind of reach out to you guys through the email?
Such a great question, right? So Kathia, this is like, if somebody needs to get in touch with Kathia that they're watching and the work that you are doing, how could they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for this. So, for my practice, you can either email me or call. If you call me, you leave a detailed message, I be sure to return your call. So my number is 516-916-6340.
If you can repeat that for those in the back again, please.
Of course, 516-916, it's here, 916-6340. You can also email me at concierge@livelovelaugh-mindfulness.com.
Say that one more time, just for the folks who are
Yeah,
on the
sure.
Facebook, on
It's at,
social media. Yes, yeah.
Concierge at live, L-I-V, love, L-U-V, laugh, L-A-F, mindfulness.com.
Awesome. So yes, and if you have the link to the website, if you put it in the chat, because we're gonna have the recording, then we'll have that also as
Okay.
is that we can also share with people. They'll be able to see it as well. In there, and then I see the Rebati information is there as well for many of you who are trying to reach out to us. 954-247-1499, 954-247-1499, or 954-247-4049. So if you're looking for mental health services with a Haitian professional to Rebati Sante Mental, you can do that as well, or reach out to info@Rebati Sante Mental, rsm.org. So info Rebati Sante Mental, rsm.org. I wanna, before I turn things over to our colleagues to say final words before we finish up for the evening, Rebati had put together a series of sort of like key things to keep in mind as you're managing some of these things that we've heard tonight. I just want to, we just want to reiterate those to all of you again, just gonna share them very quickly on this, in the screen. These are some of the things that Kat is mentioning, right? So at this particular time, as you're managing all this stuff, they say, stay informed to reliable sources. C'est vraiment important parce que Deborah parler de ça. Importance qu'a gagné parce que dans pile ressources de y a pile information, mais en pile là-dedans you're pas correct. So making sure that you're getting your information from reliable sources, because misinformation increases your anxiety, right? For no reason, because it was misinformation. So we want to make sure that you are staying informed to reliable resources. HLA is a good, reliable source for you to have, right? And they're putting out a lot of information. So follow HLA on Instagram and on all the social handles, LinkedIn and Facebook, so you can stay connected that way. The second thing we're saying is to stay connected with a community support network, which is what Kathia is talking about. How do you engage with your local communities, you know, that you can trust, you can support, that are there, you know, for you, with you to this process, which is important. Seeking professional mental health support like Kathia, and to the amazing work that she's doing to her organization, also reaching out to Rebati. There are experienced clinicians out there who absolutely qui ka supporte ou nan moment sa. Deborah talks a lot about knowing your legal rights and understanding your rights as well. Faut konnen yo, c'est pas parce que on moun fin frappe nan porte ou que yo supposé seulement ouvre porte là. So knowing your legal rights is really important. So that's number 4. Number 5, Deborah talks about is to have a family prepared plan. So whether or not you're carrying your card with you, but also making sure that the family has a plan, que famille a gon plan de qui ça y pral faire à ce moment-là, que si ou bagay rive, qui moun qui pral en charge de situation pour yo. And then 6 is keeping in faith and spiritual practice. You know, we know that the importance of prayer, the importance of healing, we can see all of that. It's so important. So, and HLA is going to those religious institutions to really provide the services there as well. So, you know, just, you know, keep on that, which is really is important. And then the last 2 things we are saying also is to limit your exposure to distressing news. Just because somebody voye WhatsApp video apo, pas supposé garder li, gen de bagay ou pa bezon kite ou entre nan cerveau, right? So don't allow yourself to be exposed to some news that is very distressing that you know is already gonna déranger ou, right? En même temps. And then lastly is to make sure that you have a good self-care plan. Kathia talks a lot about that, making sure that you have a whole process, whether or not it's what you're eating, the music, your, you know, the breathing, just these things that you're putting in place to help you through this are really, really, really central as well. So with that, I'm going to ask our guests for the night just to say final words and thoughts before we close out for the evening, to see if there's any final words and thoughts that you have before I turn things over to our chairwoman to close us out. So maybe we'll start with you, Kathia.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to, leave by saying that just remember that we can always use our cultural practices, right, into the strategy so we can relieve, some of the stress that leads to anxiety and depression. So really, like I said earlier, utilizing narrative, storytelling. Pas oublier, nous ka toujours reconnecter avec qui est nous yé, avec good storytelling. Les amis, nous, moun que nous te grandi avec yo. That gives us a really good sense of self. That's very important. Parce que parfois, we feel hopeless. Pas vrai, nous perdu tout, nous oublier qui est nous, parce que nous l'on l'autre monde, so to speak. So that's really good. In addition to that, spiritually, si prière, c'est une avenue que nous utiliser, as a strategy, use it, right? That's very important. Anything that you feel has worked for you and from you to bring your well-being, it should be utilized. And and I know that as professional, we also have to be mindful of cultural competency and be sensitive to that. Sometimes if whatever healing practices, right, that you serve, you practice, do it, right? Certain people say they into teas, pas vrai, for your boité, te sa calmeo, right? For your be avec first, whatever it is, like if it's not going to harm you at some point mentally, is making you feel that it is that decreasing your stress, absolutely do it, right? And ultimately, for our family, stay connected, right? Stay connected, embrasser famille qui positif, pas vrai? Ça cap toujours supporter nous, qui vraiment important. Parfois, nous pas gagner information, nous ka gagner famille que nous can rely on them, right? Someone you can rely on to call, to serve as a resource. Because as you said, Dr. Guerda, when you are getting information everywhere, you very often, you create your own stress. You create your own anxiety. Parce que toute information ça yo, c'est information qu'il faut, yo pas vrai, mais avant que vous découvriez que yo pas vrai, ou perdu un pile nuit. Pas vrai? You're not sleeping. So that's very important. And, and I think, this is all for me, right? Family support, using your healing practices, incorporating spirituality, and ultimately, connecting your narrative, your storytelling, again, your music, your food, all of this, connecting all together.
Great tips. Great tips. Thank you so much. I know everybody.
Of course, and I want to take the opportunity to say thank you so much for having me on the show. It was such a pleasure to be here and give back to the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making the time. Deb, final words from you.
Definitely, I just want to say to empowerment, literally, find a trusted immigration attorney and do a consultation. So take action early. And, we have faced many challenges. We are going to overcome this one. And that's all I would say, definitely. So is empower yourself by looking for legal assistance and stay resilient.
Exactement. Kade bon conseil. Avant de passer par la Dr. Janak, chairwoman of Rebati, m'a fait nous songer que we are here the last Thursday of the month. We will be doing chaque dernier jeudi. Nous toujours fait un webinar et dans différents sujets nous pral brancher sur aspect famille qui vient là dans moi. And we are studying something new. We are creating, Deb, Kathia, ça c'est pour nous, tout l'autre professeur qui était dans Zoom là, vas-y. We are creating breathing space for Haitian professionals. It's literally 30 minutes of mindful quietness. Ou pas besoin parler. There will not be a talking thing here for you. It's literally creating a space once a month for all our Haitian professionals, starting next Thursday, to come at 7 o'clock, no matter where you are in your car, wherever you are at, just to have a space for yourself for 30 minutes to have, we're calling them Haitian professionals breathing space for all of you. Donc, nous souhaitons que nous continuer avec nous. Merci en pile, en gros, et c'était vraiment un plaisir pour nous te connecter ensemble à soir. Et merci Deb, merci Kathia pour le moment ça yo. Ma passé dernière parole là avec Chairwoman Dr. Jana. Dr. Jana.
Yes, absolutely. Our breathing space is going to be absolutely amazing. All these professional people who always put everybody else in front of you. It is time to, reclaim some of that space again. And in order for you to do the work that you do with other people, you need that space for yourself. And yes, so please come join us. No expectations. You don't even have to, make up your face. You don't have to do anything. You're just coming as you are, and you're coming into the space so that you can just take that time to yourself. So Dr. Nicolas, thank you so much for bringing that up. Kathia, Deborah, merci pile. This information was truly needed today. Even at the hospital right now, you can't, the patients, the scare, all of it, everybody's speaking about their care because they are so scared. You heard it here today. Misinformation leads to anxiety. It leads to anxiety, and you miss out on the opportunities today. You miss out on your life for today because you're so busy worrying about tomorrow from misinformation. So, gérer santé mentale, it's really important. If the information didn't come from a reliable source, because it would just ruin your day. So again, join us every last Thursday of the month. We have the topics here. If there's a topic that you are passionate about and you want to hear about, you message us on Rebati Sante Mantal on IG, on Facebook, and we will find the professionals that will come here to provide you with the appropriate information for whatever topic it is. So till we meet again, merci en tout le monde. Have a great evening. Bye.